All righty, ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, June 24th. It is 1:12 p.m. here in San Diego, California. And I have had the luxury of speaking with current champs, former champs, fight analysts, fight fans. I've dealt with it all. But I have yet to speak with a three-time Pro Bowler, a San Diego Chargers legend. I mean, born and raised San Diego myself. My worlds are colliding right here. Joining me today on In the Fight, none other than Lights Out, Shawne Merriman. Shawne, thank you for the time, dude. You will never understand what this means to me.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you reached out to me and we finally got a chance to connect, man. So it's pretty cool.
So, this is a fight podcast. I cover MMA extensively, boxing extensively. I do all that stuff every week. I've been recording now. This is month 7 or 8 of this podcast, right? And we've had on the who's who. It's been unbelievable. But from a personal side, right? I'm San Diego born and raised. My pops was a sports photographer here in San Diego. My dad's photos are hanging up in OGs across town. This is everything, right? I have grown up watching you perform more than even imaginable. So seriously, I know you do this stuff all the time. TV personality, fight promoter. These 20 minutes, though, are going to mean a lot more to me than you will ever understand.
Dude, I mean, honestly, sometimes I got to pinch myself too because, obviously I played and stuff like that. But when you retire, a lot of guys, they fade away and then people kind of forget what, other players or whoever done on the field or what they've done in the communities, over time. And for me, it's been like shit, man. Like I stopped playing last year, some 6 months ago. So when I go around town or I'm traveling around the country and, people just come up to me, or I see people doing the lights out dance across the street, man. Like for me, it's just kind of a surreal thing to still get that amount of support.
Dude, no, for real though, like, I'll tell my homies who I'm having on the guest before I announce whatever the podcast is. And I told them this week, like, yo, guys, I got like Lights Out on the show this week. They've never freaked out as much as this, like in the entirety of this podcast. So whatever it is, dude, you just struck a nerve with my friends in like the most perfect sense. So you mentioned the Lights Out dance, right? And born and raised San Diego, playing sports my whole life. Every fucking kid did the Lights Out dance at some point in their youth sports career, right? So I got to ask, what makes a good Lights Out dance versus like a weaker Lights Out dance? Like, what are the nuances that you got to hit? Is it like the jump before? Is it the play itself? Or is it like the amount of switches on the light switch?
The funny part is I see people doing it on the wrong arm. Sometimes I always think that's the funniest. They do the left arm and they do this and without doing the right arm. So that's probably the weakest ones I see. But all in all, man, when I first started playing football, my first NFL football game, I got a chance to see Ray Lewis play, and this is my sophomore year in high school back in Maryland. And my high school coach said, "Hey, if you want to see a linebacker, come and watch one." And so we didn't have money. We didn't have jack shit at the time. And so we sat way up there, like 4 lights from the light bulbs, way at the top, right? But we watched that. I think it was that 2000 Ravens team when they had, everybody, and they won a Super Bowl. I think they won a Super Bowl that year. And all the players came out, and then Ray Lewis came out. And then just like everybody else feel when I did the Lights Out dance and when they were a kid, I saw Ray Lewis come out the tunnel last. And that's when I knew. I said, hold on, man. When you have the ability to affect people this way, you got something. And I always kept in my mind, even as a kid, my sophomore year in high school, I was like, that's going to be me one day. And I just wanted to create something that would make people have that same feeling.
Well, that's actually like a pretty good segue. Like, you're talking about not only being a player, right? Like square number one, rule number one, you got to be able to fucking ball, right? Like You're not going anywhere if you can't play. But then once you've established that, right? Like once you get to the pros where everyone can play, right? Like this isn't high school anymore. This isn't college where there still might be a few weak links or whatever. Like by the time you get to the pros, it's all 1% of the 1%. What separates those guys is like that moxie, that edge, that kind of it deal. No one's done it better maybe than Ray Lewis in the history of sports. You, funny enough, kind of have that it thing. And, we're here to talk about MMA or boxing or combat sports. No sport better resembles like the need for the it factor than combat sports because it's so much relying on entertainment. Is that, you think, a little bit of a connection to like why you love combat sports so much?
Man, that's the reason why I got in it. For my sophomore, between 2005 and 2006, when I started training myself. So what happened was, I grew up boxing, right? So my family, my uncles are professional boxers, and I came from Prince George's County, Maryland, where there were boxers in that Maryland, DC, Virginia area from everywhere, right? There were champs from that area. And so we grew up boxing. It was just a natural thing. So MMA wasn't on the scene just yet, and it wasn't big on the East Coast. And I get drafted by the Chargers in 2005, and I met Jay Glazer in 2005 from, the analyst in Fox Sports. And he said, man, I want you to come out and try MMA because, they help you out with football. So I said, what do you mean? Well, your hand-eye coordination, being able to open your hips and turn the corner around those big tackles. And if something was going to get me better in football, I'm showing up. Like whatever is going to make me a better player, I'm showing up. And I remember walking into the gym one day, and the first person I see is Randy Couture. And so I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, I didn't know if he wanted me to spar Randy Couture that day or not, but I wasn't about to have it. But anyway, what I found out about the sport is the discipline of it, right? So you go in and your stand-up could be good, but you're weak on the ground, you're weak, your balance and everything else. You find out these little, because you walk in there as a big, strong, athletic, freak, and you get in there and you find out a guy that's, 50 or 60 pounds less than you can do something to you. And that intrigued me and say, okay, how can I be able to maneuver, open my hips up and be flexible enough to do some of these things and learn the discipline of this sport. And that's what got me hooked on it.
Well, let's be real too. Like at some point in high school, football was easy for you. I'm not saying the pros were, right? But like inherently, dude, through high school, through college, like you were naturally really gifted, and fighting does not really care if you're that naturally gifted or whatever. It takes the hours, the work, the discipline, as you're talking about. So one of the things I really like to do on the podcast is, we're the fight fans at home. We love watching on Saturday nights. We like drinking a beer. We like smoking a joint, eating pizza. We're watching it for fun and entertainment. But there's a lot of intensity and like small details that go into the fighting. So I wanted you, when we watch football, right? I'm just watching. I see the quarterback make a throw. Like I enjoy the game a ton. I watch 15 out of the 16 weeks a year. But I don't understand what's going on at the line. You know what I mean? Like there are details that you're going to see way more than I would ever see. What separates those top 1% rushers, the guys that get to the quarterback? What is it with the hands? What is it with the body positioning, the bend as they explain? What do you think is that one small detail that the common Joe at home is missing when they see a great pass rusher?
It's, it's repetition. Everything is repetition. And, you get enough hours. It's called 1,000, 5,000 hours, whatever that is. You're going to be good. You're going to be good at something, right? So, and this is why I always make the correlation between these two sports with football and MMA, because repetition, right? So you get in there, you start learning, because with pass rush moves, your first pass rush isn't going to work. You might come in and got a guy that's athletic and 6'5", Walter Jones, right, from Seattle, just 6'7", 350 pounds, and move like a tight end. So you're not getting around him. So you got to set him up. Got to start setting him up. Fake inside moves. Because you only need that one or two big sacks to change the game, right? So you're not going to get a sack every single play against Walter Jones. And the same thing in MMA. You got to start setting guys up. Faking high and getting them to move their feet and just watch them. Start setting them up for a big punch. If you're taking it back and you're in a certain position and they start feeling your body in certain leverages and they want to get up, start setting him up. So the next time you try to get up, you go straight for that guillotine, right? Because he exposed his neck. And so, when you look at just both sports, you say, okay, what can I take from over here and move this over here. And the first thing is, is that repetition. Second thing is discipline. Man, you have to be disciplined. And one thing about like what you just said and going to MMA, it will humble your ass. It will humble. I mean, I remember when I was so bad on the ground, man. I had a kid that was 185, maybe 190 pounds. Mind you, I'm 265, right? So I got him by a good 70, 75 pounds. And I could not get up off the ground. Well, he's a Division II or Division I AA wrestler and stuff. I could not get off the ground. And I could not figure out why. And I was so frustrated. And I felt so defeated leaving that day, to the point where I got his number and I was texting him in the morning. I said, dude, meet me back at the gym. And I got so, into it because I hate losing, right? I hate not learning. So what he did was he walked me through the steps of getting up and not trying to get up on my feet before I'm out of harm's danger and stuff like that. So it became one of these things where it was just repetition and learning the sport, and it's fun.
So you've started the lights out extreme fighting, and obviously COVID is a setback for everyone, right? Like, and for a startup especially type deal, like it's going to be incredibly difficult. But you had a little bit of momentum before COVID had hit, and I don't know what the status is of the promotion, but I'm kind of curious, like, if there was one guy from the early days of your playing career that you wish you could have seen compete in MMA, like a guy that you're like, he was as disciplined as anyone I knew. He had the hands to do it. Is there a guy that you played with or played against that you're like, yeah, he should have been a fighter?
It's funny because a lot of these guys are fighters. They just, MMA wasn't paying enough back then, right? So you'd always have your guys from the SEC or Big Ten. It'll be hell of, great MMA fighters, great. And, so I always like Brian Cushing. I still talk, Brian Cushing is hell of a, I think he trains jiu-jitsu too. I think he's like a brown belt or something like that. Who else? You just got these monsters. I played with Lorenzo Neal. I think Lorenzo Neal would have been a hell of an MMA fighter because he can wrestle his ass off. I think he was a champion in college or something like that too.
Low center of gravity too.
Low center of gravity. I mean, he'll get you to the ground anytime he feels like it. So you have these guys, I think Cromartie, if he ever like took one to take it serious because he's just a freak, right? Just a freak of nature type of dude, long limbs, long legs, really thin, probably can fight it. He probably can fight at 180 or something like that, or 170, whatever that weight class is down there, and just destroy people. So if you look across the board, man, there's a ton of MMA fighters running around on the field making tackles that don't know they can fight.
Yeah, that's so interesting, man. It's just like, it's crazy what a sport can change, like how much a sport can change over 10, 15 years. Because like during your playing career, and I've talked about this, like MMA and UFC was not, it was like considered almost like extreme fighting. It was a joke. Like they didn't view it at all as like a discipline, a sport, a martial art. And now you're seeing it on ABC on Saturdays at, noon almost. And so the sport has completely changed. Do you have any personal like fighters you enjoy watching, or you've kind of followed their careers now?
One back on that, we're back August 7th at the Commerce Casino in LA.
Hell yeah. We're
back, and then our second trip, you guessed it, we'll be back down to San Diego the following month. We're going to announce a location.
Good. But I would love to make my way over there.
Absolutely. I got you. No problem. Take care. You come and check us out. It's going to be a huge event, but we'll make announcements and I'll send the information there.
Will the Commerce Casino event have fans?
Yes.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
At Commerce Casino, August 7th.
Congratulations. That's monstrous, man. That's big.
I also have a show coming out too, man, about athletes transitioning from other sports to MMA. So we got probably a basketball player, a couple NFL guys, rugby, a couple of social media guys, but what's going to be compelling is the stories and their journey and what happened after they got done playing, man. This is some serious shit. And it's going to be great.
Well, they're cliches for a reason because they're overused, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. And one of the cliches about athletes is they die twice, right? Like the day their career ends and then the day they actually die. And providing like that segue or that transition is going to be super helpful for a lot of these guys. Can you tease us where the show is going to be broadcasted, or is it going to be?
Well, it's something could be in the works. For sure, we're still looking at what was Fox Sports Western Prime Ticket and Fox Sports San Diego, now Bally's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so more than likely it'll be there, but we have a bigger announcement probably coming here in the next 3 to 4 weeks as far as streaming. So we want everybody to be able to see this. We know that we know we got a kick-ass league. We got some great stuff coming around the league, and what's cool about it is all of our shows have been sold out. And we've turned away a few hundred people at the door, and we hold about 11 or 1,200. And so when you have 1,500, 1,600 people as a in our sense a startup league coming, that means a lot because we, like you said before, we were gaining a lot of momentum before the pandemic hit, and this time, and even though I always try to find a positive in everything that happens, right? So the pandemic, we all got crushed. We all sitting around, jobs were lost, not making money, people depressed and anxiety and all this other stuff. And then, you find a way to come out of it, and you come out of it with a different mindset. You're a lot stronger than when you went in it. So now when Lights Out come around this time, it's going to look a lot different.
Very exciting to hear. I mean, I think, the pandemic was interesting. One, it brought all those negative repercussions and terrible things, but it also did provide an opportunity for growth, right? If you took that window of time and you use it and said, no, let's rebrand, let's do it better, let's do it bigger, whatever it might be, you were given that opportunity. It's kind of ironic, man. All of a sudden you have all these former athletes and stars now trying to get into the combat sports scene, realizing the paydays that could be. And being honest, dude, you were ahead of all of that. What do you make of the transition where 5 years ago you're like, dude, I've been in this thing for so long and now all these guys are getting in. What do you make of it?
I always looked at myself, man, as a trailblazer. Sometimes you don't always get the credit for it, and it's always when you're the first one to do something, I laugh about it now because it always happened. You're the one ridiculed, right? Like, oh, why he's crazy for fighting, he's crazy for doing. And my reasons for getting into just combat sports in general is because once you get done playing football, you'll talk to any player. The first thing they'll tell you is they missed the locker room. They miss being around the players. They miss the camaraderie. They miss the wins and losses and what happens after the game. So you miss that first and foremost. So getting back into combat sports and having that discipline, you start to feel part of something again, right? You feel like alive because you compete. Mind you, most of us have been playing football or sports in general since we were 9 or 10 years old. And then one day somebody walked down and tell you, you're cut from a roster or a team, and then that's it. You're done. Now you got to go out into the real world and see how it is and not be a part of a group, right? And so getting back into the sport. So that's one thing. But two, I probably should have fought 3 or 4 different times now. I just, for me, with everything that I've had on the table, it has to be worth it, right? Because it's not the fight. The fight I actually enjoy. I mean, if somebody wanted to fight tomorrow, the fight is no problem. It's the training for it, right? Because you got to sit yourself down for 8 to 10 weeks and be dedicated where you're training, at least once, maybe even sometimes twice a day, and it's an all-day thing. And that's your only focus. So for me to walk away from everything that Dana's offered me, Dana White's offered me to come fight. I mean, Scott Coker, I've talked to them over at Bellator a long time ago, and it's been there. I almost had the bare knuckle fight that was in 2018 of the crappy organization and ended up shutting down and not paying the fighters, which I'm glad I never fought. So it's always been around, but man, I just came from Extreme Couture right now. I'm in there with the guys, man. I love the fighter spirit. I love these guys give me energy, and they make me want to go, man. It makes me go with everything else I got going on. I like to get after it.
That's badass, Shawne. That's 19 minutes on the dot. I wanted to tell you one last thing. Back in 2011, I was a youngster and I was on Twitter, and you guys were doing a giveaway for a t-shirt. I won the giveaway, and on God, I'm no bullshit. I'm not making this up. I swear it was one of the most comfortable workout shirts I've ever had in my life. The fact that I still remember it to this day is bizarre because it was just a white t-shirt with an orange Lights Out logo. Winning it, wearing it, people knowing what Lights Out was and meant. It was, dude, you're an interesting part of culture here in San Diego, man, where We're appreciative. We're thankful of all the time and energy that you've given us. So I want to give you, 30 seconds, whatever you want to say. It's the floor is yours, my guy.
Well, for one, San Diego will always be my home. When I'm done running around and growing leagues and businesses and everything else like that, I'm gonna plant my ass in San Diego. That'll always be home. Second thing is August 7th at the Commerce Casino. You guys get ticket at lightsoutxf.com. I think we're going to finally start updating the site. It's been down, for the past several months because we haven't had any events. But lightsoutxf.com. But also, I'll be posting on my social medias at Shawne Merriman on Twitter and in Instagram and also TikTok, Shawne Merriman. So yeah, just keep following. We're going to be posting some dates soon and getting this thing back going. But we got a big surprise coming up for people, and I can't wait to announce some of these former athletes that's going to get after it. Let's
go. Shawne, thank you very much for the time, brother. Appreciate it. Tons and tons, more than you'll ever understand or know. Seriously, thank you. Take it easy, brother.
You got it, man. Same here. Appreciate you for having me.